I just want to introduce myself. My name is Russell Cooper. I'm the founder here at Tailored, and co-leading with me is Deb Evans. She's one of our coaches. Behind the scenes, we have Kavina Wilson. She's our marketing director. Running slides is John Mark, and he's also managing our chat and Q&A. So we're excited that you're here with us and looking forward to the next hour where we're going to talk about how to create and implement your year-end strategy. So number one, we're going to look at why it's important to do a year-end appeal. Number two, how to identify an area of impact. Number three, how to set a financial goal. Wow, there's 5 things, goodness. Number four, how to create a layered strategy. Number 5, how to create a plan and timeline. So let's see. Throughout the webinar, we want to hear from you. In your Zoom window, you should see a chat button. This is where you can put any comments that you want to share with us throughout the call, and where we will. Hey, Deb, I just got signed out of Google. So can you take over real quick? So I can't see my
Sure
notes.
thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So that, you got it?
Nope.
No? Okay. So the chat button is for comments. And we're also going to post links and stuff in there. John Mark's going to post links to different resources and websites for you. The other button that we want to draw your attention to is the Q&A button. So if at any time you've got a question, we want you to put that in the Q&A box, because if you put it in the chat, it could easily get lost. And this is a live webinar. We want to learn from everybody. We get some of our greatest ideas from you guys. So ask as many questions as you want. Give us some feedback. We'll do our best to get to your questions as they come in. But sometimes, you know, as we're going through content, we may wait till the end, but we're going to get to all of them. We'll stay on as long as you have questions. And we're also going to have some poll questions throughout the webinar, which will help us to get some feedback around your fundraising experience and your goals as well. So be on the lookout for those. All right, so why even do a year-end appeal? Well, the fourth quarter is a huge time for people to give. So here's some quick stats for you. Did you know that nearly 1/3 of all giving, 31% of all giving, occurs in December? And 12% of that actually happens in the last 3 days of the year. Some people plan to give a portion of a bonus. Some give for tax purposes, and some give for charitable reasons. You know, it's the season for giving, so let's capitalize on that. According to Charity Navigator, donations on Giving Tuesday, listen to this one, you guys, donations just on Giving Tuesday alone have risen 143% in the last 7 years. That's unbelievable. So not being asked is still the #1 reason that people don't give. And current givers and volunteers are the most likely to respond because they're already involved. So in fact, volunteers are twice as likely to give than non-volunteers. So don't assume that a volunteer is, you know, just because they're already giving their time, I can't ask them for money. They're there because they believe in the mission. So give them other ways to be involved. This is also a great opportunity for people who are on your general mailing list or your email list to give. So with that, I want to jump into our first poll question. Have you ever sent a year-end appeal for your ministry? Yes or no?
I say, Deb, I say most will say yes.
I would think so. I would hope, especially on this call, if they're interested in year-end appeal, I would think they're interested in some more new, fresh ideas on what to do. True. I think so, because it's a great time of year.
75%.
Okay, I'll go 80. What do I get what do we get if we win?
74%. That was a little over the top. Sorry, all the attendees.
Too much caffeine for Russell. Okay. But you're right. That's great. And that's awesome to see that you guys are sending that year-end appeal. That's really wonderful. Good job. Good job. Okay. So when you're starting to plan for your year-end appeal, there's 4 components to it. The first component that you want to do is to identify the impact of your year-end appeal. Sometimes we call year-end appeal YEA. So if you see YEA, that stands for year-end appeal. So identify the impact. So contrary to what one might think, The primary goal of your year-end appeal is not to raise funds, but rather the primary goal is to accomplish something together with your partners that's going to impact someone's life. That's so important. It's not about the number. It's about what we can do together. You need to be appealing to something specific that you can accomplish together. Like, how will raising these funds affect someone's life other than yours? So often when you find yourself in a difficult financial situation, you ask the question, how much money do I need? But the question should be, how much money is needed to impact someone's life? So ideally, this is something that you've already committed to do. When identifying the impact of your appeal, ask yourself these two questions. So impact question number one, what program, event, or resource do you provide or are you planning to provide that could use additional funding? So let me give you some examples. It could be like a weekly English club for refugees that's centered around the Bible. It could be providing food or clothing or shelter for someone who's been in a natural disaster. It could be offering basic medical care or renting out actual office space for an evangelistic event or even for counseling. Holding a training and providing resources for church leaders. All of these different things are great ideas, programs that could use additional funding that could really impact people's lives. Here's the thing, currently, the reality of 2020 and 2021, the reality that we have here is this global pandemic of 2019, of COVID-19. And COVID-19 has been felt by every person, regardless of social or economic status. And this year especially, you have a great opportunity to connect with your financial partners, your volunteers, your prayer partners, to what others have experienced in different ways around the world. Connecting common struggles often results in God doing amazing things for building partnerships. All right, so you've come up with the program or the resources. Now ask yourself, impact question number two, what difference will this project make in someone's life? So we've talked about an English club. All right, so what impact will this English club make? Hopefully refugees will be feeling empowered and not alone, coming to Christ through Bible study and interaction with other believers. How about disaster relief? Well, families can stay in their community and feel loved and cared for and experience Christ through the church. Training leaders, that's an awesome thing to do. What impact can happen? Well, local churches are going to grow and leadership's going to become more effective to help transform their congregations and their communities. So if you're having trouble or having a hard time thinking about a specific impact, we want you to think about doing this kind of exercise. So assume that you're completely successful and by December 31st, you've raised everything that you need. Now you want to tell people how that made a difference, what you did with it. So start there and let that generate the impact that you focus on in your appeal. Again, think if I have all the money that I need, what would I be telling people about the results? And on that note, you might be tempted to focus your year-end appeal on getting out of a deficit. Many ministries are running a deficit at the end of the year, and it hurts and it does need a solution. But even if your year-end campaign will help you get out of deficit, getting out of a deficit can't be the impact for the appeal. Go further and ask, how would this ministry being adequately funded make an impact in someone's life? And then use that as the impact of the year-end appeal. Again, it's about what we can accomplish together. So some of you guys may have already identified your impact. If you have, would you share that with us in the chat? What is the impact of this 2021 year-end appeal? And for some of you, you may not have done it. You might have some questions about identifying the impact. John Mark, are there any questions that anybody has around identifying impact?
Not as of yet.
Okay, so once you type let's put some impact in the chat. Make sure you drop down and say panelists and attendees. And you might, as you're trying to think of that, you might be like, oh, I actually don't know. And I want to maybe, do something. I mean, I may have some questions. So Tom says we didn't exist last December. So no. Okay. So while y'all are putting those in the chat, let me keep going. The first component to your plan for a year-end appeal is to identify impact, of course, like we said. The second component is to set a financial goal. So it needs to be directly related to your impact. Your goal needs to include the total cost of impact. So don't just think about direct costs of a program or initiative. Make sure to do the work and include the overhead cost of transportation, food, stationery, and even time compensation, right? When setting a financial goal, you should land on something achievable. Be intentional and think about your donor base and their capacity. Why? So, why is it important to consider capacity? And, because it varies from partner to partner, and you don't want to set a goal that exceeds what your list of financial partners can give unless you have a specific plan to reach new people outside of your current list. I'll give an example because I'll just give an extreme example. If you think that, hey, I think, my partners are very generous, and I think that just from what I know of them, I think $100,000 is achievable. But you know what? I'm going to go for $1 million, because let's just shoot for the stars. We'd really advise you against that. There has been some economic impact due to COVID-19, but also we've seen people be extremely generous through this time. So just remember, God's economy runs differently than the world's. So I would really encourage you to pray about what the goal should be. And if you consider generosity, you may have some people who are extremely generous, and you might want to challenge them to do something generous like they did last year, but or maybe to do something more than they did last year. One of the biggest benefits of a year-end appeal is accomplishing something together, which what we talked about. And you're creating a moment where everyone comes together and achieves something together. So this is an opportunity even for people who give regularly throughout the year to give above and beyond. So don't ever exclude someone from a year-end appeal because they've already given that year. This appeal goes to everyone. Okay, so the third component is to create a layered strategy. And one touch point is not enough. 59% of nonprofits make between 1 and 3 donor touches for their year-end campaign. And I want to talk about what a 3-touch strategy might look like. So number 1, we call warm-up. We want to thank them, remind them of what the ministry does. Number 2 is a strong ask, being specific about the goal and impact with a solid ask amount. Having a specific ask amount is really important and really quite effective. It makes it easier for people to see exactly how they can help and be a part of what's needed to make a difference. Number 3 is the reminder. Briefly highlight some of the language from the ask and the goal and impact, which will remind them to give now. Like Deb said earlier, a ton of giving happens in the last 3 days of the year. So let's dig into what a strong ask might look like a little bit more. So if you want to get even more specific in this ask, we highly recommend segmenting your list. Segment based on capacity, and there are typically 3 groups to segment people into. The first one is your highest capacity donors or major donors. These are people you need to write a personalized letter to and make a follow-up call. For the average person, anyone who can give a gift of $500 or more at one time could be considered a major donor. If you have a higher capacity at work, then you might set that mark at $1,000. But often people think of major donors as giving once a year, but it could be that, people who give monthly as well. You might be thinking they already gave, so they won't give again. But the opposite is often true. People who have already invested and given are more likely to give again because they want to see the ministry continue and succeed. They believe in it, and it speaks to their heart. So it's up to you who a major donor is, but it's important to identify who these people could be and to approach them personally. If you want to see even more success, you can do a one-on-one ask with major donors, whether it's in person or over the phone or video chat. It's definitely personal and worth the investment of time. We've also found that a matching gift works really well for a year-end appeal. So consider asking one or more of your major donors if they'd like to or be willing to provide a matching gift for the campaign. It can motivate people to know that their $100 can turn into $200 because of a matching gift. If you need more help in knowing how to make an ask, check out our ebook on 5 ways to make an effective ask. And John Mark's going to put that link into the chat. It's just $5. It's like 26 pages or 36 pages, but it gives you, I think, 5 ways to ask. Another level to add can be mid-level donors. Again, what that means exactly will be different for each of you, but usually somewhere between $100 and $500. But the more specific you get, the better. A lot of people are more comfortable giving ranges as an option, but in our experience, you're much better off asking for a gift of $250 than you are asking people to pick their own amount between $100 and $500, for instance. So don't make your donor guess at what is helpful. Pick an amount that's helpful. And I just, again, consider your the people that on your financial partners or potential financial partners. And if you don't think that would work for them, make adjustments, contact one of us and we can help you with that. The final level is everyone else on your contact list, whether they've given in the past or not. So this group does not need a personalized letter, though if you have a system that does that automatically, go for it. But you do still want to have a specific ask with this group. And, honestly, there's so many like mail merge options that even email mail merge options, you can definitely put their first name. Just make sure that you've got it right and send tests, several tests to make sure it works. We also recommend setting the financial goal after you have segmented your list and contacted your major and mid-level donors, especially if you're doing a matching campaign, so you have a better idea of what is possible from your current list. And that's going to bring me to poll question number 2. So what communication channel are you most likely to use in a year-end campaign? You can actually choose more than one answer. We have email, direct mail, phone calls, social media, and face-to-face asks. So what are you most likely to use? I say email, direct mail, social media. I would recommend all of those plus phone calls and face-to-face asks. But I think
email is going to be number 1.
Yeah, for sure.
Email, followed by direct mail, I think. Yeah. We've also got some projects over in the projects and impacts in the chat. Do you want to read those now or do you want to wait?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, do you have them?
Yeah, oh, look, the results are back.
Okay, so this year, 77% people said email. Last year, 90% said emails. Last year, 40% said direct mail. This year, 54% said direct mail. Let's see, last year, no way. 38% this year, 38% on phone calls. Last year, 34% social media. This year, 27%. Last year, 14% face-to-face ask. This year, 31% face-to-face asks. Great. I like that increase.
I like
that's
that
great.
Too.
Hopefully that's from our webinar last year. So Deb, tell me about some of the impact.
Yeah, so Ruth was saying that what she wanted to do is she said impact is opening additional extreme response dream centers or after school programs around the world. And then later she came back and said, no, that's the project, not the impact. So she said, okay, so she now identified the impact as the additional children would receive educational reinforcement. Love that she did that.
Awesome. Good.
Isn't that great?
Good thinking. And that, that example really helps everyone on the call think, okay, we're not talking about inputs, we're talking about impact, right? Good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Another year-end appeal. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John Mark.
No, I was going to say, go ahead, and then if I can ask a couple of questions.
Sure. Okay. James said that his year-end appeal is going to be for additional resources and finances for church revitalization. Okay, James. Well, the question is, what impact is that going to unlock? What does church revitalization look like? How does that change people's lives? So that's impact question number 2. So you've got impact question number 1. What's impact question number 2? I love Scott's giving Muslims an opportunity to watch the Jesus film during lockdown when they're all watching TV. Okay, so you've got the project, which is fantastic, right? Like, what a strategic project. How's that going to impact their lives watching the Jesus film?
Yeah. So cool. So cool.
And we've got one more. Water security for 3 communities in Bangladesh, leadership training for pastors in rural Tanzania, and entrepreneurial training in under-resourced community in Honduras. Wow, that's a lot.
Who's that from?
That is from Josh Weger.
Okay, Josh. I would consider either figuring out what the commonalities are in that. Your impact could be the commonality. Like, so just think about the impact that would have if they have similar impact, because you're talking about, I think a fundraising ask is better when it's if the impact is really specific. Right now, those seem like some disjointed to me, because you gave such a short answer, disjointed projects. Is that what you're thinking, Deb?
Mm-hmm.
So those can be your inputs, that's okay, but as long as your impact is singularly focused. So make sure, and if your impact can't be singularly focused around those three things, I think you might have to take one of them out.
Mm-hmm.
I say have to, nothing's like, you don't have to do anything, I say. But just consider that you want a very strong ask and you want to be very clear. You don't want to say it could do this and it could do this. You want to say it will do this. So,
and you want to make it simple for people to understand, to digest, and to read. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, John Mark, questions?
Yes, and I think these are probably questions that several have, but Marguerite asked, I'm struggling to think of the one thing. Should it be a year-end Christmas outreach to the entire village? Should it be a program need? We also hope to do some renovation, buying a heating unit. Aside from the heating system, these are smaller needs. How do I proceed?
Okay, so the stuff that you've listed, except for the heating system, is pretty small in the amount. Is that what we're saying? Is that what I'm hearing?
I believe so.
Sounds like it. Mm-hmm.
It could be year-end Christmas outreach. Should it be a program or need? We also hope to do a renovation or buy him. So again, think about the impact. So let me just, on very limited information, I'll give you a train of thought. So you have a year-end outreach to the entire village. That sparks some necessary programs. That sparks some renovation to your facilities to be able to have the capacity for those programs. And all those 3 things are our strategy for this impact. So that might help. I wouldn't say heating unit. I would lump heating unit into renovation and just call it renovation. If that number comes up too high for, we talked about capacity earlier, then you might want to rethink some things. So that's my answer to that.
Okay, and she did go on to add that most of those amounts are less than $1,000. So,
okay, well then you might be able to lump them all together.
Yeah. Will ask, what would you suggest for those who are part of a ministry team but not the decision maker when it comes to programs, campaigns, etc.? How do you create a year-end appeal for personal support that's not tied to a specific event or program?
Deb, would you talk about that question? So if I'm a ministry worker and I only have control over the ministry that I do, how do I raise money for that? Because it's not a program.
Right, but so you're saying that you're part of this ministry team, right? So together as a team, you guys are committed to the same vision and the same impact. So just because it's not necessarily your direct ministry, your partners, if you're part of that team, are still interested in the impact that the whole team is having, right? Is that what you're thinking, Russell?
Well, I mean, he's asking about personal support. How do I create a year-end appeal around personal support, basically? That's the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm missing it totally. Yeah, I'm missing the
Sorry,
question
I didn't
completely.
say it correctly, actually. We're real coordinated over here, Will.
I'm trying to digest the question on the spot, and I'm not understanding it. Okay, so around personal support. Okay, so what is it what is the impact of the ministry that you're doing right now? It doesn't have to be a specific event or a program, right? Whose lives are being changed by what the ministry is doing right now? How are your partners involved? And maybe you don't if you're looking for personal partnership that's a consistent monthly partnership, maybe a year-end appeal isn't something that you need to be doing for one-time giving. If you're trying to boost your partnership team, then instead of inviting people to one-time giving, inviting them personally into ongoing giving is going to be more sustainable. Is that where?
Yeah, I also think, we're going to get to this question and we kind of need to move on. The question is, what are you asking God to do through your ministry? That can really solidify impact, especially for when you're thinking personal support, and you're saying, okay, what's the impact other than my salary? So what are you asking God to do through the ministry? That's the impact.
Okay, what are you saying?
So yeah, so it's
Sorry.
not about where the money is being spent, it's what the money is going to do, basically. So
Yes and amen. There you go.
there
Okay.
you go. Okay, you're
All
up.
right. I'm okay. So sorry about that. So another part of creating a layered strategy. So Russell talked about how you're doing it. Let's talk about the channels that we just talked about in that poll question. Believe it or not, the very first, the one that most people use, the one that we recommend is direct mail, physical mail. It's the most popular mode of communication for year-end appeals. You see it all the time when you get mailers from Operation Smile and Operation Christmas Child and all those things. Direct mail is the most popular mode. Anytime that you can create a personal touch, make the time to do it. Writing a little personal note at the bottom of some of those mid-level donor letters. Even consider handwriting the addresses because that stands out. Maybe even choosing a colored envelope. All of those things make it stand out. The more unique and the more personal that it is, the greater chance it's going to be opened.
Okay, Deb, can I read this next thing?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm super excited about this. There are two things that are really new that I want to share with you. And Scott, I told you there was only one, but there's two. So Scott, listen up. Everyone else, if you really want to make a big difference, there are services. John Mark is going to put this in the chat that will actually handwrite a letter or postcard for you. Okay, so what happens is they literally have a pen that a machine takes and it goes and it writes the letter for you. Okay, so you're literally sending them a letter that was not handwritten, but machine written with a real pen. Okay, so I think this is super cool. I looked it up and found that I didn't think it was too expensive, especially for the return. So you may want to do postcards to everyone that are handwritten. And you can do this from anywhere in the world. So I am loving this. It's called Handwrite, and John Mark just put that in the chat, right, John Mark?
It's there.
Yeah, it's right there. So it's called handwrite.io. Super excited about this. Obviously, I wanted to share it with you personally. That's why I cut.
Hey, Russell, can I have a question about it? So do you give them the content in an email or something? And then okay.
Yeah,
just
for sure.
Curious. Yeah,
for sure. So if I were going to if I had a large number of major donor letters to send out, or if I just wanted to send as one of the touches, a reminder card or something like that. So it also works outside of year-end appeals too, obviously. So
it's www.handwrite.io.
That better be the right link.
No, somebody was saying they can't see the chat, so I was just letting them know.
John Mark, you just posted that to panelists. You didn't post it to panelists.
Oh, right. To everyone. It needs to go to everybody.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Supposed to be And there's, so they probably didn't see the other one either. And so I will correct that as well.
The one for Benny, don't repost, but yes, the
Okay.
ebook and the handwrite.
Yeah.
All right. So there we go. Let's see.
So-
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, it's a small investment. And a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't want to spend money for doing that. But, when you think about the return that you get, it would be amazing. Something else like using executive stationery, that also stands out to
Totally.
major donors. Yeah.
Totally. If you don't know what just Google it. It's a certain size. It's really worth it.
Was that your other thing?
No, my other thing's even better than that. So now we have 3 things, Scott.
Okay. All right. The second thing is email. I remember when you used to get that little ding that's like, you've got mail. There's so many services out there for email, like MailChimp or Polymail, that allow you to set up a series of emails that automatically send at the time that you set up. We highly recommend looking into options for this because it can really free you up from having to do it manually every time. So instead, you just get it all lined up and then you let it go, which is perfect because this happens during the holidays, right? And you want to be spending time with your family. So set it up ahead of time and then let it go.
Say something
big
about Polymail is going to hit inboxes better than MailChimp, but if you're more familiar with MailChimp, that's okay too. If you just a couple of, I've just learned so much over the last few weeks, and Lindsay's going to be proud that I remember this. Don't put more than 3 links in an email; it'll go to spam. So if you can, only 1 link. Just FYI. Okay, Deb.
Russell's just full of all kinds of good little tips.
Okay, you can keep going. I can't promise I'm not going to interrupt.
Hey, you know what? You're the founder. You can do what you want. Okay, so a big plus for using these services is that you can set it up also to where the program's going to personalize the letter for you automatically from your contact list. And so that gives another personal touch for you without you having to do the legwork. So we'd suggest just using plain text so it doesn't look like a desk email. All right, third, we talked about phone calls being effective. Follow-up phone calls are super effective at getting to people to respond to your year-end appeal. You can use apps like SlyDial that allow your call to go straight to voicemail, which saves a lot of time. And also, if you have some anxiety about phone calls, it's a great app for you to think about using. If you're going to make a lot of phone calls, please write out a script beforehand so you don't ramble and ramble and ramble. It can be something like this. So, hey, Sarah, hope you got my latest email. We want to raise $10,000 to provide scholarships and school supplies to children in need. If you'd like to make a difference in a child's life, click the link to the email to give. Thank you so much for your consideration. Happy holidays, something like that. Social media is another great way to layer your strategy here. We recommend using social media, though, as a supplement to your direct mail or your email strategy, not as your sole channel of fundraising. Side note, if you want to check out our social media webinar that we did a couple months ago, you can do that on our YouTube channel. I think, John Mark, you're going to go ahead and stick that in the chat box as well for people who want to check that out. Organizations that use social media effectively to raise funds typically do so because of the investment that they've made in establishing the relationship outside of social media. If you're getting social, go ahead.
2 things, and Kavina will back me up. Or you have a lot of engagement. You actually invested time in having conversations with every single person that's ever commented, and not every single ever, but the people who comment and like your posts. We also recommend direct messaging as a good strategy too. If that's a way that you communicate with your partners anyway. Okay.
If you're going to use social media for fundraising, it's best used when you have a really specific, highly urgent need that's not a deficit, remember that.
Definitely.
But that can be communicated through a brief story. So perhaps a family who's lost their home, maybe it's a village that's run out of medical supplies, an orphanage running out of food. If you use this mode, add visuals, especially a video, to communicate that sense of urgency. A picture says 1,000 words, but videos can say 1,000,000.
If you don't start speaking, or if there's no speaking within the first 3 seconds of your video, it's not likely to get watched. Is that right, Kavina? Hopefully, or I'm not putting you on the spot.
It helps a lot.
Great. From the marketing director, it helps a lot. So within the first 3 seconds.
Also, movement helps a lot. Like, don't stand, against a blank wall. Show what's going on in the background. Movement helps a ton as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Add a link to the actual giving page. It drives me crazy when I get a link to the organization and then I got to click, 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 click to get through to that giving page. So don't make them click through. Give them as few steps as possible. And just as a rule of thumb, if you're asking digitally, like through email or social media, please give them a digital way to respond or a link. If you're asking in a physical mailing piece, give them a physical way to respond. So you can add other options as well, but just make sure that you at least have the option that matches the channel that you're asking through. Don't mail someone a letter and then ask them to type a link into their computer. Give them a pledge card and an envelope to return their gift in. And then if you also want to add instructions on how to do it online, that's fine too. And get this, if you provide a pre-stamped return envelope, studies show that you have a 31% higher chance of a donor returning with a gift. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Now let that sink in.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to take, it's called lowering barriers to entry. You are lowering a barrier. All they have to do is write a check and put it in the mail. They don't, I don't have any stamps. So I'd have to go somewhere and get a stamp. So.
Well, but sometimes I know, like our church, because the ministry was a part of the church, they let us actually use their church meter. Like you could meter things too.
Oh, cool.
Send things
Yeah.
out, which is cool. But anyway, you could send them out that way. And this sounds crazy, but branded donation forms can raise up to 7 times more. I think it's because it feels more legitimate and people feel more comfortable sharing information that they're sure is going to go to the right place. So make sure that your hard copy and your online forms look their best to boost engagement.
Okay.
Russell, do you want to talk about this non-cash assessments? Yeah, because I'm like, I think this is you're excited about this.
I am very excited. Okay, Scott, this is number 3. So we had handwritten. I don't remember. Oh, I don't remember number 2. Handwritten letters.
By handwrite.
I don't remember number 2. Scott, you can tell me what number 2 was. This is number 3. Many people don't think, or they don't know, they don't think about donating stocks at the end of the year. So there's something called capital gains, which means if you make money off of a stock, you have to pay taxes off the money you made if you cash it out, if you sell the stock. Okay. But capital gains taxes can be avoided. That's by giving to the ministry before they sell the stock. Okay. So what they do is they actually donate the stock to your ministry or to your account. Okay. This helps them avoid capital gains. So check with your ministry to see if they have a way to accept stocks as a gift. Most likely they do. Okay. If not, if you're a small nonprofit, you can call Barnabas Foundation at barnabasfoundation.org and just ask them how to do that as a new nonprofit. Okay. Tell them Russell Cooper sent you. So there's that. So you ask your ministry if they have a way to do that, and you will need the following information from your ministry to send to the donor if they want to make a donation of stock. It's in the slides, Kavina. Yep. Number 1, the name of the investment firm the ministry uses to actually process. Number 2, the account name, which is probably the name of the ministry. So you need to ask your ministry those 2 things. Number 3, the DTC number. I don't know what that is other than depository trust account. I don't remember who that comes from. The account number, the contact at the investment firm, and the contact phone number. So I think that the DTC number, it comes from the donor, the account number comes from the donor, the contact at the investment firm, and the contact phone number, those all probably come from the donor. Nope. the DTC, who knows? This is really terrible that I'm actually telling you this and I can't explain each one. I just got this from Barnabas Foundation because that's who I use. But that's the information that you need. And you can work with your ministry and your donor to get this information. Okay, so consider sending an additional email after the first one, potentially with the subject line I forgot to mention, and then in the body of the email saying that you can avoid capital gains, you can avoid capital gains taxes by donating stock directly to the ministry. It's a very smart way to invest in spreading the gospel. If that is something you are interested in, please let me know and I will send you more specific information on how to do that. Also, if you decide to give through stocks, this is important. If you don't mind, let me know so we can make sure it gets allocated correctly. Just because somebody gives stock doesn't mean when the ministry receives it, they're going to know who it's from. Okay, I'm actually going to copy and paste what I just said into the chat so you can copy and paste it somewhere yourself. And then, so there you go. Copy and paste that somewhere where you don't forget it. But Scott, that was the other really awesome thing. Yeah, you could also remind people that they can donate directly from their IRA to avoid paying their annual required minimum distribution. I forgot about that. That's from Barry. Thank you, Barry. So you might want to add that to your email. Copy paste right here. So many times when I tell donors about this, they email me back and thank me profusely because they had no idea they could do this. And there are lots of other ways they can give, but these are the and save on taxes, but these are these are the easiest. Thank you so much, Barry, for saying that. Okay, the next thing, establish a timeline. Lindsay, are we going to finish on time? Yes. Establish a timeline. I'll talk quickly. The fourth component. So when it comes to creating a timeline for preparing and sending the year-end appeal, it's best to work backwards. Start with when you want people to receive your year-end appeal. You might consider hitting people's inboxes or mailboxes on the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, which is now known as Giving Tuesday. Remember the stat that we gave you. This day has risen 143% in popularity if we're giving in less than a decade. So if you're sending emails, what day, time do you want to send it to people? So people have it when they wake up Tuesday morning. Again, you're going to prep them. If you're capitalizing on Giving Tuesday, make sure to prep them with that warm up. If you're doing a direct mailer, what day do you need to drop it in the mailbox for it to arrive on or before that Tuesday? How much time do you want to give to yourself to segment your list, to write the letter, have it proofread, gather contact info, address envelopes, etc. There's a really good process. A really good chance you'll need to begin this process almost now, but definitely by October 1st. So, because it just takes time, right? Another date you want to keep in mind is when you want people to respond. This will create urgency. Urgency is huge. Please hear me. The most common date is December 31st because it's the end of the fiscal year. And it's when a lot of people give, but some of you may have a deadline sooner than that, and it's okay, but it needs to be clearly communicated. So those last 3 days in December, when so many people give, it's a great time to send a reminder, even if it's a fourth piece in yours. We don't say that you can only send 3 communication pieces. If you want to send a fourth or fifth, that's fine. Another important date we recommend scheduling now is when you're going to send thank yous or make calls to tell people how their giving is making or will make a difference. Side note, people who get first-time donors who get a call within 48 hours after their gift are likely to give 50% more in their second gift. So don't overlook this, okay? Even if your impact is something that may not happen until next spring, follow up right away because of your gift. Here's the impact that will happen. As soon as you get a gift, send a thank you note. A fun little saying to help you remember is thank before you bank. Maybe I should make that my like social media like description or something like that. Probably not. You want to say thank you as soon as possible. So whatever date you choose, make sure it's sooner rather than later. Let's see, when you identify impact, set a financial goal, create a layered strategy, establish timeline, and you'll be well on your way to having a plan for a successful year-end appeal. So a couple of things I want to share with you. One, Scott, who's on this call, told us at the beginning, he said that he went to our year-end appeal webinar last year, and implementing these strategies, they doubled their giving at the year end. Second, last year, we coached Phil from Campus Outreach around year-end strategy using this methodology. It resulted in $32,000 in additional funding. So I say that to say, if you want to maximize your year-end strategy this year, I would love for you to connect with a tailored coach, okay? It's gonna be worth the investment. This is a lot to process, so you need somebody to walk with you, right? So 2 things. For first-time clients, we want to coach you for the next 3 months. And we're going to coach you how to lead a ministry of generosity, create a powerful message, and develop a detailed plan to reach your funding goal by the end of the year. Okay. So if you're a past client, we would want to offer you 4 coaching sessions around your year-end strategy. We're going to work together to focus your messaging for your year-end impact, then put together a specific strategy and plan, and then start implementing. Also, you would have email access to your coach through the end of the year if you need to troubleshoot or need feedback. So you get 4 sessions, and then you get access to your coach through the end of the year via email. Okay, so if you're interested in working with a tailored coach, set up a quick call with Benny to answer any questions you might have. He's going to help you with your potential next steps. So that's his Calendly link. Click it right now and go ahead and schedule something. Okay. You really don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss the results. Okay. And God is going to do something amazing through your relationship with a tailored coach. And it's going to be a lot of fun for you and a lot of fun for us, maybe more fun for us. So lastly, let's see. We love to throw it to Deb. That's what we love to do.
We love to spend some time in reflection is what we like to do.
Yeah.
So when you think about what we've covered today, there's been a lot of details. There's been a lot of excitement. What's something in this webinar that's been helpful for you? We'd love for you to put your answer in the chat so that we can see those there. Russell, I'd be excited to meet with you and to have some time with you around this, because you're like pumping me up today.
Cool.
And if you found this webinar helpful today, we're offering a $25 Amazon gift card to anyone who would take just a 30-second selfie video to share what you found most helpful. We need one taken both vertically and horizontally. And if you don't know how to start your video, you could say, hey, I just finished the tailored webinar on year-end giving, and what was most helpful was, and then share it. Or I just finished the tailored webinar on year-end giving. Their webinars are so helpful because, and then share your reason. Or you could just get on and just say something great. We're going to send everybody a follow-up email. And in the email, there's going to be a Google Drive folder with these suggestions and also instructions for you as to how to upload your videos. So if you upload your video by 5 p.m. tomorrow, we will send you that $25 gift card. John Mark is going to put this link to the Drive folder for the videos in the chat, but it'll also be on an email that we send you. So let's look at some of the things that you guys have taken away from today. All right, slide dial, bypassing actual talking to humans. Jeff, you are hilarious. He is funny. Creating a tiered strategy and having specific asks based on giving capacity. Yeah, that's so important. Not using your year-end appeal to get out of debt. Thank you for hearing that, James. Identifying something specific.
Yeah, for sure.
Russell, you gave some great extra resources and links that Ruth really is appreciating. Yep, all the tools.
All the caffeine. Help me. So
And Scott, love the reminders. Just again, those reminders, because you forget things from year to year, right?
yeah. Can I just say that if somebody offered me a $25 gift card for 5 minutes of work, I would totally do it. So please totally do this. Okay. That's all I'm going to say.
The other thing that it will do is it will encourage other people, like
Yes.
other people who may be thinking about a year, or maybe have not even thought about a year-end strategy. It will encourage them to think about how they can leverage this time of year, but also leverage generosity and think about what we can accomplish together.
Yes. So you need to know, exciting. Kelly asks, what will you do with the 30-second video? It's going to go on our social media accounts. So if you're in a creative access country where your face can't be shown, don't send us something. It is going to go on our social media to encourage everyone who follows us on social media that they can do something like this. So.
But if you are in a creative access country, instead of taking a video, you could write something to us and then we could share it and not put your name on it.
Totally. I won't give you $25 for that, but that'd be really awesome. Who do we send the video to? You're going to get a follow-up email and there's going to be a Google folder link that you'll upload your video to. So it's super
Russell, it says 5 p.m. What time zone is that? 5 p.m. Central time?
Yeah, 5 p.m. Central tomorrow. So you have 28 hours. In 28 hours. So. Yeah. Okay. Do we have any more questions? We don't have any more questions, do we, John Mark?
We have a couple.
Okay.
Tim asked, I've done a year and appeal almost 15 years, had Decembers where up to double a normal month came in. However, December 2020 was significantly lower than all previously, and I'm wondering if others notice a similar trend. Can we be hopeful for this December?
Tim, I don't know what your past, year-end appeals have been. Maybe it had to do with your last year-end appeal. Maybe it was your specific donor base and the, maybe some of the economic drivers from the pandemic. We did see a lot of ministries, their year-end appeal did very well because of the pandemic for certain reasons. So it's really hard to say. I would imagine, I can't imagine. I would just say, just follow these guidelines. And I think you're going to get the best results that you're going to get. I'd begin just praying now. You're going to get the best results by starting to pray now and praying that God would open the doors. But use these suggestions, use the skills and insights that God has given us to give to you.
Yeah, and look at Thomas, what he said in here. 2 years in a row, employing the advice we received, particularly related to the ask and to impact and the 3 steps, and using the last 3 days of the year, we were helped to raise $25,000 each year through year-end campaigns.
Thomas, if you say that on a video, I will give you $50 in Amazon gift card. I'm not kidding. I want people to be encouraged.
Yeah. Well, and also Phil's $32,000. I mean, that was last year, $32,000.
Yeah. I'll send Scott a specific. So anywhere.
So yes, it's possible, to answer your question.
Marguerite, so happy, so excited that your year-end appeal surpassed its goal last year, and believing for that to happen again. Just by chance, did you happen to come to our webinar last year, Marguerite? You don't have to. I'm not going to be like disappointed. I was just wondering. Yes. Oh, I love it. Oh my goodness. Okay, Deb, we've got to share all these things with all of our coaches next Wednesday. So Lindsay, can you export the chat so we can just kind of like look through it?
You betcha.
Oh my goodness. So exciting. Actually, yeah. So exciting.
Okay, so don't forget everything that you learned. Take good notes. Don't forget to take your little selfie videos and upload them for us. We have loved being with you today. We are super encouraged just by all of your feedback and your ideas that you share with us. It's fantastic. So we hope that you're walking away with some valuable tips on creating a strategy for your year-end appeals. We want to hear from you too. Let us know at the end of the, let us know January 1st how things went this year. And if you want real-time updates and free resources and more, we'd love for you to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube. We just want to thank you guys so much for joining us today.